Brewington Oaks Twin Towers actually, at its conception, was dormitory towers for Rockford University at the time. For the last 50 years, since 1969, is actually when the Rockford Housing Authority added it to its portfolio. And being 418 units, 209 per tower, the original designation of that building was elderly disabled only. However, we have struggled over the years to maintain occupancy there. So back in 2009, we actually submitted a special application to HUD asking that we remove that designation because our occupancy there was so low. And I truly believe the occupancy was so low is because that side of our community, which is the southeast side of our community, is saturated with elderly disabled housing. And the location of it did not give folks the opportunity, again, or the access to the facilities and services that they needed. In 2009, we were granted that access, and we actually started moving in younger folks into one of the towers. Unfortunately, very quickly, we realized that that was not the right move. We are putting a much younger population into the same environment with folks that are trying to age in place, which again did not help our occupancy, which is one of the leading factors of the reason why we submitted for the Section 18 applications, because we struggled so hard to keep folks living there, wanting to live there, and then wanting to remain there. Generally, our subsidy through HUD is about $1.1 million per year in operating, and just about equal that in capital funds. But looking at those buildings and the fact that they were as large as they were, had as many apartments as they were, with our limited funding, it was just unrealistic to be able to maintain those buildings with that very limited funding. There's no way to maintain the lifestyle that's really required for today with that limited funding. So to be the best stewards of HUD funding, to make sure that we provide the best overall environment for the folks that live there and give them opportunities and access to services, it was the best decision not only for our agency, but for our residents and for the surrounding community to look to remove those buildings. A caveat of that application is to create a relocation plan and to outline what opportunities and or access are you going to give the residents that you are now displacing.
As you can probably imagine, it was, kind of all over the place because we had 179 people that we had to relocate. But we made sure that we met every need possible of our residents. When implementing the client-centered approach for our residents, we did the needs assessment, we did the monitoring, we did the service planning, and all of these things together help that individual to successfully relocate into a place they wanted to be. They were happy with it and their family were happy with it. And so because we took the steps that were needed, we were able to successfully get the resident where they wanted to be. We could not have been as successful as we were had it not been for a lot of the agencies and organizations that stepped up to help us with this endeavor.
An invitation for bid was put in the community to cover the deconstruction of Brewington Oaks. HUD requires us to look at all avenues of companies that submit bids and make sure we have a most responsible bidder. 12 companies submitted a bid for the destruction of Brewington Oaks. We try to prioritize women-owned business and Section 3 businesses. Rockford Housing Authority Board of Commission awarded a $1.5 million contract to Inktrack Group, LLC, for the deconstruction of Brewington Oaks.
Being that we are a family-owned business and it's a local business to here, it's really important for me and it's exciting for me to be involved with the community by the work that we do. I would say deconstruction definitely is the first part of any kind of vision or future development of any site. Deconstruction really has become, especially in the Rockford area, something that's becoming more and more prevalent over the years. Whether it's residential or industrial, it's a great way for the city or the housing authority or any entities with some sort of development in mind or beautification process in mind, having that be the first step in the process.
There's several facets of this demolition that have to occur before the actual demolition starts. We have to, we all sit down and we talk, and we have to get approval by HUD, and then we have to outsource through procurement the deconstruction part of it. There's several other things that have to happen. You have to have utilities removed. You have to get the asbestos or lead paint out of the buildings. Then you can start moving forward with your deconstruction phase. The contractor follows all the guidelines and regulations that are in place. They put up silt fences around the property. They keep water on the site to keep dust at a minimum. And they make sure that nobody from the community can enter the gated area for safety reasons.
Yeah, Housing Authority has been a fantastic partner. Everything from the central administrative staff and executive leadership team to the facilities maintenance and management group that really got us access to the site so that we could begin to develop a working process for how this demolition would proceed. This is a large project in the area. There aren't a lot of 14-story buildings, much less dual 14-story buildings that are surrounded by neighborhood communities. So there's only selective options for how a building of this size can be demolished, and then also caring for the environmental or location-based kind of circumstances surrounding that. So we had two options. We could use a wrecking ball to bring a building of this size down, which is a messier and potentially more impactful to the neighborhood method. And we opted to use a high-reach excavator. And so we leveraged some relationships and there's only one in the entire Midwest that's capable of doing these kinds of heights. The benefits there are that there's far less both sound and debris that leaves the site. It is a little bit of a faster process, but it's less impactful in the neighborhood and the homes that are in the surrounding area.
Part of our thought process is to see how we can divert materials from going to the landfill and possibly use them in other aspects of life or other aspects of construction. So we try to make every effort that we can to salvage any items that we can. We'll take out concrete if the building is made out of concrete, such as the Brewington Oaks 2 buildings, and we have a mobile crushing site, so we took all the concrete from there and we put it through the crusher and then use those aggregates on future projects for roads, parking lots, etc.
The method in a building like this, in order to maximize the amount of deconstructive salvage, requires us to go floor by floor with small equipment and remove virtually everything that would be finishing work, drywall, wood, framing, personal effects. And so we move floor by floor by floor and remove all of that debris from the building. That's what allows us to be able to recycle all of the concrete that the building structure is made out of. It takes about a month per building in order to do the floor by floor removals. The return on investment there is we saved something to the tune of 24,000 tons of debris that didn't go to the landfill by doing a deconstruction versus a true wrecking ball demolition.
The beauty of deconstruction is that you can kind of piecemeal things out so that not everything has to go to the landfill, and it's quite significant tonnages then that do not have to go to the landfill versus being reused into other future projects in one form or fashion.
It's about a month and a half, slightly more than that, maybe 2 months, in order to slowly chip away at the concrete structure of the building until it's low enough to the ground in order to bring it down through demolition.
This is my first experience with a demolition of a property of that magnitude. It was surreal to watch that building come down. It was a sight to see.
Housing Authority has probably been one of the best organizations at maintaining communication, having a really clear expectation and understanding of what the process would be, as well as what they wanted out of the site after our work was done.
Working with RHA in general, it was a good working relationship that we had with them, and hope to continue to work with them in the future.
Our Section 18 application actually asks for demolition and then to allow the space to remain green space, to allow our board and our agency the opportunity to look into future redevelopment. And of course, we don't want to look at that redevelopment without talking to the community, without making sure that whatever goes there provides additional affordable housing, but maybe it's a mix of affordable housing with fair market, but it's also aesthetically pleasing to the neighborhood and it fits into the neighborhood, and that we are providing an environment of peace and of amenities and access, not only to our residents, but to the surrounding community.